B'Shem Ha'av, V'Haben, V'Ruach HaKodesh. Amen. Dear Lord, we thank you for the gift of this day. Thank you for the gift of living here, dwelling in your house here at Emmaus, where you broke bread and where you transformed the life of Cleopas. In fact, the same house where he was martyred afterwards, Lord, in this house that gave birth to the second Bishop of Jerusalem. Lord, we want to follow the path of these two martyrs, just detaching ourselves from all earthly things in order to welcome the true gift of life, which is to know you, to receive your love, to know those around us, Lord, to begin a life of love that will last for all eternity. Lord, lead us into a deeper poverty of spirit, not just a poverty of material goods, but a poverty of spirit. Lord, a desire for you, a desire to be like you. We pray. Shalom lach Miriam meleat hachesed Adonai imach. Baruch ha'at banashim ubaruch pri bitnech Yeshua. Miriam hakdosha em ha'elohim. Hitpaleli ba'adenu hachotim ata ubishat motenu. Amen. B'Shem Ha'av v'Haben v'Ruach HaKodesh. Amen. Grace, so my name is Anthony of the Transfiguration. That's my name of profession, and I'm a priest and I'm a brother. And I just love the vow of poverty. It's so cool. It's such a privilege to depend on Christ alone. And we're in a community that loves poverty. And in our part 2 segment, we're going to talk a little bit more about how the church gives us a rule of poverty and how our community gives, of course, each of us, even our lay people in our community, a rule of poverty. And that rule of poverty permits us to not be attached to the earthly goods, and permits us to do crazy things. And as many of you know, I like adventure. I like adventure in the Holy Spirit. And in our community life, there's already a lot of challenges for what poverty means. Welcoming each other and living the life of poverty, sharing our goods, and being a community that a lot of our houses relatively poor. Still, you can get a little comfortable. And so it's a privilege that I have for several years now, every year or two, to go out on the road and be poor with Jesus, to have vacation with the Lord in a way, and to have an adventure with Him. And so I just want to tell one of so many stories. I should do this more often because I'm going to forget the stories if I don't tell them. So I was in the Ukraine, and it was January. It's very cold in the Ukraine during January. And I was in a pilgrimage of Providence. As it was winter, I did have a little bit of money with me for emergencies so that I wouldn't freeze to death. I was already a priest. I was a little more crazy with my pilgrimages of Providence when I wasn't a priest yet, but now I feel like, well, I have an obligation because people like sacraments and stuff like that. So I did have some emergency money with me, money for little things like taking a bus. And so there was one night in the Ukraine where I was just walking around the streets, and I was in a town that, in fact, I couldn't find any Catholic churches or Orthodox churches, but I couldn't even find any Greek Catholic churches, and I decided to move on to the next city, but it was late afternoon, and it was getting cold, and I just wasn't sure what to do for the night. I hadn't really met people that evening. I just walked around the park, and I thought, well, I walked to the bus station, maybe I'll just sleep at the bus station. And I saw that there was a bus leaving at midnight for Odessa. I was in a city called Uman. So there was a bus leaving at midnight. It would arrive in Odessa in the morning. I thought, well, I just wait it out and take the midnight bus. And so I started walking around the village a little bit. And there was a church that had its lights on. And it was a church, as far as I could tell, with my limited Ukrainian. It was a church that was neither Catholic nor Orthodox nor Greek Catholic, which is a little bit rare in Ukraine. In fact, it was like an evangelical church. And I went in and listened to the word and to the preaching, and the service ended, and it was still only like 8:30, 9 p.m. And so I still had a couple hours to go waiting for that bus. And so I thought, well, I'm just going to beg for somebody who might take me into their house to like wait for the bus, have a tea or something. And everyone just spoke Ukrainian, but there was like kind of an assistant pastor guy who tried to talk to me, and his wife, in fact, is like, he communicated enough to say that, well, his wife, who was at home, spoke some English. So he's like, well, why don't you come and you can try to explain your question to me back at the house. And so I communicated what I was doing, and they're like, wow, that's great. Well, sit down, have some tea. And then they're like, well, you're going to stay the night, of course, with us. And of course, you're going to go with us tomorrow because we are planting a church in a town nearby, in a town of 5,000 people that has no Christians and no Christian churches. And we're not sure what you are, but at least you're somebody who likes to pray and stuff. You're going to come with us. And, well, for that, I had to stay, in fact, 2 nights with them. And what an adventure, staying with this family. It was a 2-room apartment, so a little bedroom that the parents were in, and then 4 kids who were in the other room. And then there was a little closet that was the kitchen. And they said, no problem, there's room, it's okay. And it's in the middle of winter in this little apartment, snowed in, with this family. All the kids went to sleep in the parents' bedroom. And here I had all to myself the rest of the apartment, which was basically a bed and this little like play table that they used as their dining room table. But they're like, no problem, there's room, it's cool, you know, so generous with the little they had. And they really lived that way in a missionary spirit. And wow, to be able to beg and to be able to receive the gift of a family and to be received into a home. For me, that's such a gift, is to be poor and to let the Lord love you through a big gift like that. And St. Francis, as we're going to see in part 2, St. Francis says, when you beg, somebody might welcome you into your home, and you don't have the right to accept money, but of course you have the right, like the gospel says, to receive whatever they offer you. So if they offer you food, of course you can accept it. So in the morning, they're like, oh, you want breakfast, right? Yeah, of course you want breakfast. They're like, you like spaghetti and milk for breakfast, don't you? I was like, yeah, of course I do. Coming from an Italian family that so prizes good Italian cooking, with such joy, I ate this warm milk. I don't like warm milk to begin with. I'm a little lactose intolerant. But that was really good. Spaghetti and milk for breakfast because it came from the Lord. It was His gift. And so to be poor, to let ourselves be loved, and to live this vow that frees us to open ourselves to that gift is what we want to share with you today. So thanks a lot for joining for the testimony part of this talk on the vow of poverty. We'll move on to part 2.